president owes Britain and its armed forces an apology.
Oh, no.
Weeks feel like decades in the current news climate, and that's not just because, as you may have heard, I recently had a rather painful altercation with gravity and a small step, which led to a fracture of my femur and a brand new hip. So here I am with my new bionic hip, reporting from my home, at least for the foreseeable future. But the news doesn't stop, even for my frail torso. The protests in Minneapolis are becoming a demoralizing and deadly crisis for the Trump administration.
I just want to say sorry, Pierce. Respect. Always appreciate you, man. I'm sorry that you fell down and hurt yourself really bad. That's terrible. Fell down, femur and a pelvis. Man, I'm sorry.
37-year-old intensive care nurse Alex Pretty was fatally shot by ICE officers on Saturday. State officials say he was
This was a tragedy. You know, I don't, it doesn't, like, I shouldn't say it doesn't matter. It matters. But whatever the story ends up being, whether the guy, you know, tried to reach for the gun of a ICE officer, whether or not he had his gun, whether or not his gun was taken and he was shot, you know, while he was being disarmed or while he was disarmed. Like, it doesn't matter how you slice this situation. It's a bad situation and there's no winners here. And it's just an awful tragedy. And I'm so sorry that this happened. And yeah, you can debate till the cows come home about right and wrong and what he should and shouldn't have done and, you know, whatever. But at the end of the day, the man lost his life and he had no business losing his life. And it's just a tragedy.
Harmless protester. Federal officials say he was a domestic terrorist. They're two extreme versions of the same reality, just as half the country sees ICE as good, honest law enforcement, delivering on campaign promises, and the other half sees them as the Gestapo. Homeland Security Chief Kristi Noem gave this justification for Pretty's death yesterday.
This looks like a situation where an individual arrived at the scene to inflict maximum damage on individuals and to kill law enforcement.
Really? Well, having watched the footage, as we've all now done many times from many angles, that sounds like a fairly brazen attempt at rewriting history to suit a preferred narrative. And there's been quite a bit of that going on in the past few days.
Well, I don't agree with that. Because all the videos we've seen or I've seen that are circulating that have gone viral, they start with them on the ground. Unless there's stuff like before that, I haven't seen it. So I haven't seen, you know, whatever the altercation was before he was thrown onto the ground or whatever. So, you know, we got to wait till the whole thing comes out before jumping to conclusions like Bovino said.
Thousands of miles away from the domestic strife, President Trump spent last week admonishing his allies in Davos. There's no doubt that strong-arming NATO has delivered some good results for the United States, but some of his comments have caused genuine outrage, particularly on this side of the pond. You might even say they were a fairly brazen attempt to rewrite history for a preferred narrative.
What's that?
I've always said, will they be there if we ever needed them? And that's really the ultimate test. And I'm not sure of that. I know that we would have been there or we would be there. But will they be there? And let's hope that that never happens. We've never needed them. We have never really asked anything of them. You know, they'll say they sent some troops to Afghanistan or this or that. And they did. They stayed a little back, a little off the front lines.
As a matter of fact, the only time NATO's ever invoked its most powerful clause, that an attack on one is an attack on all, it was after 9/11. Thousands of British troops were injured and 457 of them died in Afghanistan, where they categorically did not stay a little back.
Thousands of troops and 457 died. All right, I want you guys to think about that just right now, okay? Because I know where Pierce is getting his nipples in a twist right now. I can see where this is going, okay? But let's just slow down, right? Britain was not attacked. America was. All right, let's keep that 100%. All right? Britain was not attacked. America was. America went to war. Now remember, NATO was not paying into the defense fund. It was 100%. Let's just say it's 100% because it was like 98%, right? 95%, whatever you want to call it. But basically, America was paying the whole thing. Our money, our resources, our assets, our weapons going to NATO allies. That includes Britain. Trump is making a very clear point that I think is being missed because you got in your feelings about him saying you guys weren't really in the war. Because it's true. You were auxiliary troops. Volunteered some troops. And I would even say it was done on the on its face, it was done in a political, this is our ally, this is a relationship thing, we're going to do this thing. And that's not taking away the sacrifice of those who died. That's not taking away the sacrifice of those who served at all. That's a separate matter. And I don't believe anyone in their right mind should discredit that. And he's not. That's not even the point he's making, Pierce. The point he's trying to say is, we've never needed you. We didn't need your thousands of troops, and we didn't need your sacrifice of 457 men to do the job we did. If you took all of the contributions of Britain and all the other allies and you combine them, it wouldn't have made one tittle of a difference to what we can do. That's his point. It's not discrediting it. It's not saying that you guys didn't do anything or, your sacrifice wasn't worthy. That's not even the case here. But it is the case that quantitatively, your contribution doesn't move the needle for us, and it won't. That's just reality. And if you wanted to go back to World War II, it's kind of the same thing. Like, we were minding our business. We weren't involved in the war. We didn't get involved in the World War until Japan bombed Pearl Harbor. Right? And so who knows how long we would have stayed out of that war. We didn't want to go across the street and get into a war. So I think that, you getting personal and getting your feelings hurt and trying to, defend quote unquote Britain. I get it, man. Like, that's your country. That's your contribution. You don't want that taken away. You have to say that. I get it. But I think you're looking at the trees and you're missing the forest.